Welcome back to the ultimate checklist for better photos. This is episode 8 of 12, and today we're talking about a skill that quietly separates snapshots from photographs that feel considered, intentional and meaningful. Visualization. Or to put it simply, seeing the photo before you take it. Because great photography doesn't start with pressing the shutter, it starts with a pause. Today is about slowing the whole process just enough to make better decisions. Better decisions about light, composition, timing, and most importantly, emotion. By the end of this video, you'll know how to pre-visualize a photo before you shoot, take random shots and more intentional ones, and train your eye to anticipate moments instead of chasing them. Let's think about this for a moment because it's really important. Visualization is not a trick, it's not a talent you're born with, and it's not something only artistic photographers can do, which is exactly what I used to think. Visualization is a thinking process. It's your brain doing what it does best, making sense of the world by anticipating outcomes. It's almost a primal instinct, if you like. When you visualize, you're essentially running a quiet rehearsal in your head. You're asking, if I press the shutter now, what will the image say? How will it feel to someone who wasn't there? From a psychological point of view, this is huge, because the moment you ask those questions, you shift from reaction to intention. You're no longer just recording what's in front of you, you're interpreting it. And that interpretation is where photography becomes personal, and visualization is the bridge between seeing and meaning. This is a really important distinction, and I want to be perfectly clear here. Snapshots are not bad, far from it. Snapshots definitely have an important place. They're fast, they're reactive, and they're often about memory rather than meaning. Birthdays, holidays, and quick moments you absolutely don't want to miss. And that's perfectly fine. In fact, taking snapshots is exactly why I got into photography in the first place. Let me know if that's the same for you. The difference, or the distinction, comes when you care about the image beyond the moment. Intentional photography is what happens when you move from, I don't want to miss this, to, I want to say something with this. And that shift from capture to communication is exactly where visualization lives. You start asking, why am I taking this photo? What do I want the viewer to notice first? What am I prepared to wait for? Snapshots react to what's there. Intentional photography anticipates what could be, if that makes sense. By the way, if you've missed any of the earlier episodes in this checklist series, I've linked the full playlist in the description for you. They all build on each other, so it's well worth a watch in the correct order. Kind of like a course as such. This subject alone could pretty much be a book, because when you visualize, light is usually the first thing that tells you whether a photo is worth taking or worth waiting for. So start by asking yourself simple questions. Where's the light coming from? What's it doing to shape and form? Is it helping the story or fighting it? But here's the key part of visualization. You're not just looking at the light as it is, you're imagining what it could become. What happens if a cloud moves? What happens if the sun drops a little lower? What happens if someone walks into that pool of light? And this is why experienced photographers often appear patient. They're not doing nothing, they're actually waiting with intent. Visualization allows you to be ready when the light does something interesting, even if it only lasts a few seconds. This part is as much about psychology as it is about photography. When you lift the camera and immediately shoot, you're operating on impulse, and there's nothing wrong with that in certain situations, because it may be a case of shoot it or miss it. But this is more about being intentional. When you lift the camera and don't shoot, you create space. That space is really important. Maybe try framing with your hands or looking through the viewfinder without pressing the shutter, because that slows you down just enough to think, and you'll start noticing the edges of a frame, distractions you missed before, balance, weight and flow. And from a psychological point of view, This helps you move from urgency to curiosity. You no longer rush into capture. You're considering what to capture. And consideration is where better decisions come from. One of the most important parts of visualization is timing. So ask yourself, should I wait for something to enter the frame? Should I wait for a person to step into the light? Should I wait for the scene to simplify? And sometimes the best thing you can do is nothing. Just wait. Even a few seconds can sometimes transform a photo. And this is why street and documentary photographers talk so much about anticipation. They're not lucky, they're ready. Henry Cartier-Bresson, one of the most influential street photographers of all time, put it beautifully. To photograph is to hold one's breath, when all faculties converge to capture fleeting reality. In other words, he wasn't spraying and praying. He was watching, waiting, and anticipating. When the moment arrived, he was totally ready for it. And this is a big one, especially for beginners. When you don't yet trust your eye, it's very tempted to shoot everything. More frames, more angles, more hope. We've all been there. But here's the problem. Random shooting often feels busy, not productive. Visualization gives you a target. Instead of asking, what if this works? You start asking, will waiting make this work better? Maybe think of it like this. Random shooting is like throwing paint at a wall and hoping a picture appears. Visualization is sketching first, then painting with intent. I hope that makes sense. The benefits of visualization are real. You shoot fewer frames. You review with more clarity. You learn faster from each session. You build confidence because decisions become conscious. And most importantly, you start to trust yourself and gain more confidence. That trust and confidence is what moves you from guessing to creating. And I'd love to know, when you're out shooting, do you find yourself taking lots of photos and hoping one works? Or are you already starting to wait for the image you want? Drop a comment below. I read and reply to everyone. This exercise is really simple, but don't underestimate it. The pause is what separates habit from choice. So next time you see a scene you want to photograph, stop and count to 5. In those 5 seconds, ask, what do I want this image to feel like? What is the story here? What's the light doing right now? Am I about to shoot the first moment or the best one? Only then take the photo. This pause trains patience, it trains awareness, and over time it definitely trains confidence. And of course, the more you practice this, the more automatic and intuitive it becomes. If you do try this pause exercise, let me know how it feels. Does it slow you down in a good way, or does it feel uncomfortable at first? And if you do want a safe, supportive place to practice this way of thinking, share your images, talk through your decisions, and learn from others, our Photography Foundations community over on School is the perfect place to do it. So let's quickly recap what we've covered in this episode. Visualization means seeing the photo before you take it. It starts with feeling, not settings. It involves light, composition, and timing. Waiting is often one of the most powerful tools. And fewer shots lead to better results. When I first started out, I used to think all this visualization stuff was a bit artsy and beyond me. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, far from it. But trust me, if I can do it, anyone can. So let me leave you with this. The camera doesn't make the photo. The shutter just confirms a decision you've already made. And a really useful way to think about this is like archery. You don't close your eyes and fire arrows at random, hoping one hits the target. You aim first, you adjust, then you commit. Visualization is that aiming process. When you visualize, you're no longer simply hoping for a good photo. You're working towards one. And of course, the more you practice this, the more consistent your results become. The more confident your decisions feel, and the less you rely on luck, which has got to be a good thing, eh? And if you want help building that foundation, don't forget to download your copy of the 3 Essential Pillars of Good Photography. It's linked in the description and designed to help you with the basics. If you got something from this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell icon. It really does help others find the channel. Thanks so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.